We are moving on now to discuss something that a lot of people have been asking themselves. How can we amplify women's voices, especially as they engage in politics and governance? Very often we see the very small number of representation of women in governance. There's a new administration. The cabinet has not been set yet. How can we ensure that this administration understands the need for women representation and inclusion? That's what we'll be discussing. And I have my guest in the studio. He is George Uvietaire. He is the Communications Officer, Gender Strategy Advancement International, an organization that we collaborate with a lot of times to talk about the women issues and see how we can get solutions. Thank you so much for coming.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Before we get into the conversation, we have a special report that will set precedent for this conversation. Let's roll that report.
We want to die.
Nigeria politics is corrupt. I would say politics is a dirty game.
These are just a few ways people describe the political arena in Nigeria.
In such an instance, it's always hard for the women to compete in such crude political scene. So we need to restructure our political system.
Social stigma has greatly contributed to the low number of women in politics in the country.
Women have been marginalized over time, and we know that this is largely due to a lot of barriers they face in their social lives. It boils down to our norms, our values, religious and socio-cultural biases.
Despite these challenges, women are breaking the barriers, proving that they are a force to reckon with. Deeply ingrained cultural norms, gender biases, and systemic barriers have impacted their progress. However, these challenges have only fueled their determination. One of such is 26-year-old Rukaya Shitu, a lawmaker in the Kwara State House of Assembly.
Age does not really matter. What matters is the effectiveness, what you are going there to do, what you do, the value that you have. The age or the gender is something aside. What should be celebrated is the effectiveness, is the commitment, is the value, what you bring to the table. How has you used that office to change some things positively? How have you used that position to influence your constituents, the state at large, and even Nigeria as a whole?
The narrative is beginning to change because women are becoming more aware of their right to be part and parcel of governance.
Abiodun Esse's political journey is a testament to the power of perseverance and a deep-rooted desire to make a positive impact in community. She ran for the office of a councillor in the FCT during the 2019 elections.
I decided to start at the local level because I felt women were disconnected from the politics at that level, in the sense that I felt women should be more connected to what happens in the local governance. And the fact that you're a woman is one limitation to you even prospering in the political space, because of societal norms and beliefs about women, that women are not supposed to be in leadership space.
Even though she didn't win, that opened the gateway for her to serve in the capacity as an advisor to the chairman of the Abuja Municipal Area Council.
The most rewarding part of my political career was the opportunity to serve my people in different platforms, like based on the fact that I ran for elections and I wasn't successful, I was called upon at the local council to serve as an advisor.
Abiodun Esset, a lady of substance, all right? She believes she's a goal-getter, and she added lots of value in my administration.
Malam Abdullahi Adam Candido is the former chairman of Abuja Municipal Area Council. During his tenure as the chairman of AMAC, he prioritized gender diversity by appointing a significant number of women to his cabinet.
You have a lady who I appointed as council secretary, Lady Rahmat Abisola Abdullahi, a lady, third in the command of my administration. If you are the type like me who is looking for exceptional service, okay, the value that she will add to your, what you are rendering as a mandate given to you, you get it in a woman.
His actions serve as an inspiration for leaders across the nation and beyond, encouraging them to create an environment where women can thrive.
There is no time that an assignment or a meeting is organized or arranged, whatever is the time. If he sees a man, he will see the woman.
With the success story of these women, it can be said and duly noted that Nigerian women have and do stand a chance in the world of politics.
So far as the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria says democracy is for all, not for a particular gender, so we shouldn't stay away from this.
Calls are now being made for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to prioritize gender diversity when selecting members of his cabinet.
I want to advocate that the next administration, led now by Mr. President, who is giving us hope, I keep saying this, that he should also look the other way of a woman. He is going to get the best for them, and by the grace of God, they will add value to his administration.
This fight for equal opportunities and a level playing field is a call to all Nigerians to stand solidly behind intended female politicians as they join the world of politics and governance in Nigeria. Lois Aposambo, ASO Television News.
Welcome back from that. That's the special report we had talking about amplifying women's voices as they engage in politics. But like I said earlier, we have George Uvietaire, Communications Officer, Gender Strategy Advancement International with us. Again, I welcome you to the studio.
Thank you for having me.
Right. Let's go into women in politics. This past election cycle was not very, would I say, encouraging, especially looking at our 10th assembly. We saw even less women in the House, about 15 in all, about that really. So would you say that the challenges they face comes from that stereotype that politics is dirty, like we saw in the report?
Well, I would say for one, there are various challenges to women getting actively involved in politics. One of them is the cultural and the social perspective. You know, traditionally we believe that women have a role in raising kids, you know, being a housewife.
Right.
And there's also the patriarchal concept that women should be seen and not heard. Mm-hmm. You know, women should play second fiddle. And that has created a backlog of events in our society. You know, women are not encouraged to be involved in politics. And we feel political arena is male-dominated.
Right.
Male-dominated because, like from the video we saw, we could see the men fighting themselves. We could see that competition. We could see that display of the male ego. You know, so I think the challenges are there. The challenges include lack of access to finance, limited resources. I think also proper mentorship for women who are involved in that space is also lacking, you know, because right from the onset when we are born, we all come through a family. And the family is the first platform of mentorship for everybody, whether you're a male child or you're a girl child.
Exactly.
And so usually in the home front, the girl child is mentored to take care of the home.
Of course.
So your mindset is already shaped from that background. And only in few cases where women come through families where they are inspired to actually push on and demand for active participation in the spaces where leadership is demanded. So I think as a society we have a challenge. Women do not have access to resources. Women face gender-based violence and discrimination. Women are usually looked upon as challenging the male authority,
right.
which is not right for me, because I think in God's agenda, women were designed to serve. And leadership is all about service. So if you leave out the woman equation in God's plan, then definitely things won't go the right way.
Well, we've also heard even in religious circles. I mean, the Bible, for instance, will tell you the woman is the neck. That automatically makes the man the head. And the head is often used here as the leader, so to speak. And we are a very religious nation. So would you say that it will be going against, like that? A lot of people have used it as justification. Would you say people will feel like it's going against even the tenets of their religion? Let's leave culture now, religion, if you now support a woman to lead?
I think that idea in the religious space is not inspired by divination. I think men over time have created falsehood through institutions that they know have control over the minds of people. You know, God himself did not tell man that woman should be relegated to the background. God created woman as a support system for men.
That there you go.
No, hold
support.
on. In the sense that man was incomplete. Before you can have a society, a woman must be involved.
Of course.
That is leadership. Leadership is harnessing potential. Without the woman, the man's potential cannot be fully fulfilled.
Okay, now let's go to Nigeria. I read a report recently of out of school children being 10 million in Nigeria, and the girl child is 60% of that. That's quite concerning, you must agree. However, we now see women who, these are children who would eventually grow. And this statistics has been over the years, we've always had more of the girl child not attending school as much as the boys. There are cultural factors and the many other factors. Would you then say that this also affects the leadership positions and representation later on in life? And how can we bridge it?
Well, I think that's a major point as one of the barriers and challenges that women face. As a society, we're influenced mainly by our cultural orientation and our religious perspectives. You made mention of girl child not having access to education. And this is something that state governments and civil society organizations, international organizations are trying to see how they can make a change to this norm, you know, because an educated mind is an empowered mind. Education is very important. We cannot rule out the relevance and essence of education in the life of an individual. And we must encourage the girl child to go to school.
How, when there are such barriers culturally, from religion, society, there are several barriers?
Yeah, that's part of what we're doing at Gender Strategy Advancement International. We run empowerment programs, we run awareness programs, we interact with stakeholders, we interact with policymakers and other civil society organizations to see how we can take the message to the grassroots level and come up with scholarship grants to make access to education affordable for some of these families, because some of these families are poor. They do not have access to some of the resources that other people have to send their girl child to school. And so they would rather invest in the male child, knowing fully well that that male child will continue the family heritage, because they believe that, okay, an educated woman would eventually go and join another family, and that is more like a wasted investment. But that idea is totally wrong, because we've seen cases where women have actually brought more fame
To a family.
to the family. They've actually brought more glory to a family. They've actually been more impacting on society as a whole than even some of the male child. We look at the likes of Okonjo-Iweala. We look at the likes of Amina Mohammed. There are so many of them, women who are distinguishing themselves in the spaces where they find themselves.
You look at
as
the likes
leaders.
of Joy Asanya.
Oh, we look at the likes of Joy Asanya. So I think it's a wrong perception that
Right.
we should only invest in the male child. women are equally intelligent. Look at the last JAM exams that were held.
Exactly.
A lady
Was
the top.
Was
you
the
know,
top.
Women naturally are brilliant. I'm not saying this because we're discussing women.
No, I'm just
you know.
excited there is a he for
No,
she with me here.
Women are naturally brilliant, and I think excluding them from that space is actually limiting our growth and development as a nation. Some of the solutions that we are looking for in Nigeria are in women. And so because we have not gotten them actively involved, we're still where we are. Because you look at the men, they're not really doing well, you know. They're not really doing. And we were having a discussion before we came on live, and I said we shouldn't even be having this discussion about
exactly.
women participation in politics or the 35% affirmative action. It's a question of leadership. Nigerians want leadership. We don't care if it's a man or if it's a woman. We don't care if it's a Muslim, if it's a Christian. You know, we just want delivery.
Work,
you know,
right.
we want things to work. I don't think we would be having this conversation if, at the end of the day, the citizen rights are being met. You know, you're advancing the cause of the people. The standard of living is improving. Access to infrastructure is available. We won't be having this conversation. And so because we have seen men fail over time, and I'm speaking from a position of a man, I think we have failed over time, you know, because we have been the one who have been in that space. We have been the one who have been piloting the affairs of the nation. And we haven't done well. I think to a large extent, there needs to be mentoring for leadership across all board, both the male folk and the female folk.
Right.
There's a huge deficit in understanding of what a leader really is. So I think we need to look at that.
We need to look at that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to that conversation that you say ideally we shouldn't even need to have if the society and there's all the indicators was right. I know that the gender, the GSI, that's the Gender Strategy Advancement International, was very strong on pushing for the 35% affirmative action. However, it's even worse now with the number of women representation in the 10th Assembly. Is that a conversation women rights organizations such as yourself would reawaken again, knowing that the odds are even less
Sure.
this time?
Sure. I think there needs to be more collaboration among women groups. I think we need to amplify our voices more. Part of what we're doing, our gender strategy, is with our partners, the Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism and
I know you do
the
with MacArthur
Foundation, is a collaborative media training for reporters and editors in the gender space to amplify the voices of women, to push for more engagement with policy and decision makers, with the public generally, to create an awareness about these issues, to put it in the front burner, you know, because I think we're caught up in a vicious cycle of survival and we do not pay attention to the real issues. And I think we must take it as a course that will actually deliver the other things we're looking for. An inclusive society is a society that is on a path to progress, on a path to development. And we need to get everybody in that room. We need to get everybody to lend their voice to the issues, because we're not doing enough of that. There's too much distraction. Recently, when I was coming, I heard the story about the other lady who apparently did some tampering with her JAM results.
Exactly.
And that's not an issue. She's only learning from what she can see, because parenting is not about telling children what to do. It's about modeling a lifestyle to them. So she's seen that in a society, we have individuals who are in public spaces who manipulate events in their favor against public will, against the opinion of the general public, just like, if I can say this without a backlash, you know, the recently conducted elections, you know. So she's seen so-called father figures, you know, doing all manner of things in our society, and they don't get punished for it. So it was fair enough for her to also do that, because I questioned the courage, to go on a platform, a national platform, and tamper with the results. I questioned that courage.
And have the audacity to defend it on national television.
So it's worrying.
It is.
It's worrying.
But does it also feel that narrative that the women can be very callous?
Well, I think it's not just the women can be very callous. I think human form, naturally, the way the human mind works is we take in what we see. We take in what we see. It's from the subconscious. When we take it in, it goes into the subconscious. And it's from the subconscious that our actions, our attitudes, our behaviors, they come from. So it's not just the women folk. Even young boys, they've all turned ritualists, for the quest for money, So it's a question of the value system in our society, What are we seeing, What message is being passed? What is being modeled to the youth? What is being modeled to the girl child? So all these things play a very important role. So I think we need to start to change the narrative, which is partly what we're doing through the collaborative media training. See how we can, report positive stories that can inspire people to be all that they should be, to get them actively involved. Because in a democratic process, there is actually the most important part, which is citizenship participation.
Right.
And you cannot be actively involved when you are not informed. And so what we're doing is helping the citizens to come up to speed with their role in the political process. Whether you're a girl child or you're a male child, you all have a role to play.
Speaking about amplifying these voices, on whose laps does this end of
responsibility
fall on?
Well, I would say on all of us. And I don't want to seclude anybody. Why we would always point to government is because they have a role to lead us on the path where they feel we would all be at our best. We would all be progressive. We would all have a life that will mean we will be happy. We would thrive. We would interact with ourselves. But government has not played that role effectively. Government has not played that role. Civil society also have a responsibility. I think also the private space, because women also suffer discrimination in private spaces.
Exactly.
When there are openings for leadership positions in organizations, usually women are discriminated against. In some cases, they are, how would I put it, arm twisted to do things they would naturally not do, just to get them to occupy those positions. So I think there needs to be a legal and institutional framework to help to safeguard the space of women so that they are not discriminated against and they have access to equal representation in the public and private space.
That seems like a tall order. I mean, when I think of what ensued during the 35% affirmative action, and you're talking about a legal framework that ensures that, why should any organization, follow this legal, this framework you're talking about? So that it doesn't seem like, while in the bid to have the equality, you are now suppressing the man.
Well, it's not about suppressing the man.
Because I'm trying to see how we can have a balance in an organization. Maybe the man is doing better, men have been doing better, but there is a woman. Would you now take the woman above the men because you want that kind of, you want to be seen as being inclusive?
Well, I think basically leadership is all about vision. It's about competence. It's about character. It's about integrity. And so when you find these qualities in an individual, naturally, you would want that individual to lead on any platform. And so if the woman has all these things above the men, I think she should be considered. Because...
How about expertise?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Competence. Expertise. Competence is part of expertise. If the woman is best suited for the job, if she can deliver on the job,
Right.
she should be considered.
Is it one that takes into account the peculiarities that makes a woman? She would at some point get married, which I have heard that as an excuse for some male-dominated organizations. You know, you consider the fact that she would need to go on maternity leave. She might get pregnant at some point and not be able to give as much to the organization as she should give. There are the dynamics or the peculiarities that women face. We cannot do away with that. It makes them less competitive in those organizations. Are you seeing a kind of society that captures all of this but still gives them a chance?
Yeah, I think those are excuses. You know, the world is advancing, and during the COVID-19 pandemic, we all had to stay at home and work. You know, we didn't go to the office, but work continued.
Right.
You
It
know,
didn't matter if you were a woman or man.
So in that period of time, I'm sure women got pregnant because men were home, women were home. It didn't stop the job from continuing. And I think men over time have failed to accept the fact that family life is about partnership. Recently, I heard that men were also clamoring for paternity leave.
Right. I think some states even approved it.
Yeah,
Yes.
they've approved it. Because raising a child is not the sole responsibility of a woman. It's the responsibility of the man and the woman. You know, and many men have failed in that respect. As a matter of fact, women play the unifying role in families. Women have held families together because the men usually feel, oh, I have to go work, and they're not always at home.
Exactly.
So I think that perspective has to change. Women can balance their schedule. They shouldn't create that excuse that, oh, a woman will get pregnant or she would have a menstrual cycle. Those things don't matter. All that matters is the mentorship you have received as an individual and how you are able to lead your life in such a way that you are able to deliver on what you're expected to deliver. I think that is what should count.
Now, do the women even know what they want?
No, I don't think so, because they've been put down for so long. You know, when you put someone down, they actually believe what you have told them. Because words are powerful. Words are what we use to shape the minds of people. And so if all women are hearing is you are second class, politics is male dominated, or politics is there's violence, there's intimidation, you will accept that reality. But if you are told you can do it, if you are told that, oh, you are at par with the man, if you are inspired and you pay attention to what you are listening to, what you are taking into, because our actions are influenced by our subconscious mind. You know, sometimes you just hum a tune, not because you paid attention to the song,
it
but
was
because
just
it gained
over
access
and
to your
over,
spirit
yes.
man. So women have to be conscious. What are you listening to? Are you intentional? Do you have a plan for your life? You know, those are the conversations that we try to have with some of the child when we engage with them, because we have an empowerment program in gender
Right.
strategy where we go to schools, we organize forums where we speak positively into the minds of these young girls, and we
Right.
encourage them. Don't shortchange yourself. If there's any space for leadership, get involved. You know, so we're having the right conversations with them to help to shape the future, because the future is shaped today, and you can shape the future with the words that you're exposed to. So I think from the home front, parents should be intentional. They shouldn't put down these children. You're mad, you're crazy, you're this, you're that. No, those words have effects on the lives of people.
I've often also heard that we are now concentrating too much on the women and we're letting the men go, the boy child. We're not intentional about also saying that your job in this world is to protect your sister, to protect your cousins. Every man has a mother. Most men have sisters, and every man must have a female relative. You know, and the conversation is going back to the women. You should do this. You should empower yourself. You should be strong. But we need the help of the men. Would you say in our advocacy and awareness, we are inadvertently putting the man aside? the boy child aside?
Well, valid point. And I know we talked about this earlier in the conversation, which entails that we're not only focusing on the female child. The male child is equally important, and it's all a function of mentorship. Every human should be mentored. You should be mentored about life. You should be mentored about your role in life as a man, as a woman. You should be taught certain things. You should be prepared for the future. Most men just stumble onto fatherhood.
Fatherhood, exactly.
They were never prepared for it. It was just, I came of age. Oh, my peers are getting married. I need to get married. But what does it take to succeed in marriage? What does it take to be a successful father?
But for generations, you just watch what your father has done, how he has done it, and then you take a cue from that. Is there a special mentorship
There is a special mentorship.
Oh,
because
really?
The challenge with that is if your father is an arm robber,
you
become an arm robber, a better arm robber at that. So I think that's the role that the society also plays and civil society organizations, because for some people, by default, they don't have a choice to pick the families they come through. Some parents also are suffering from that lack of mentorship. They were not mentored from when they were born, from the home they came into. And also, they do not have mentorship to give. And so that trend has continued.
Right.
But for some people, they are lucky, they find mentorship in external places. Maybe they have a neighbor, or they go to a faith-based platform or social media, which is doing amazing things,
By amazing, I can only understand what you mean. You get whatever you ask for on social. There's nothing that is out.
It's like Pandora's box.
It's like the Pandora's box. Everything, there's a little of everything in there, which should not be basis for where anybody should learn anything. Really.
So it's a trend that needs to be addressed. The family is the most important unit in every society. And I think government should come up with a scheme of ensuring that we pay attention to our families.
Right.
We pay attention. Before people get married, there should be a system of mentorship for young men, for young ladies, so that at the end of the day, when these two people come together, they are intentional with raising kids. They're intentional with speaking into the lives of these children, with mentoring them, so that some of the challenges and problems we face in society will not exist anymore.
Okay, so now what? Finally, what should we keep doing? I know GSI has been doing a lot in awareness, advocacy, organizing summit, and the collaborative event you have with journalists, just so that we keep the stories alive. But what else can be done? What should the girl child listening to you right now take from the entire conversation?
Okay, I think the girl child listening to me right now should believe in herself. She should believe, more importantly, that she's a creation of God and she was made in God's image and likeness. And if you have an understanding of who God is, then you have an understanding of who you are, and you should never give up. Never, never give up. As long as you are alive, you're a fighter, because life itself started with a battle. You outswam millions of sperm cells and you made it into this realm of humanity. And everything is possible. Everything is possible. You need to seek out people who can mentor you. If you don't have that mentorship around you in the home front, you need to seek out people. Technology has made it easy. You can go online and seek out, where can I get mentorship as a girl child? It's very easy to access such platforms. And we need to keep amplifying the voices of women. We need to keep speaking out. We need to keep engaging with policymakers, with civil society organizations, with the public generally. We need to keep doing more of what we're doing already, because the work is much. The work is much. Trust me, if government was doing half of what they should be doing, probably we won't be, in a dire situation where we are now. But everybody needs to be involved. Faith-based institutions, educational institutions, everybody needs to be involved. And our gender strategy, that's our passion. That's what we live, that's what we breathe. And I thank this organization also for highlighting gender issues and helping to amplify the voices of women. So I think we need to keep doing more of what we're doing and also pray that God will help us.
Okay, George, I must thank you. And I don't know, how is it said? More grease to your elbows. I've attended some of your events, and it's quite inspiring. And as a woman, and as a woman who intends to succeed in life, I can understand how a lot of people must be impacted by what you do. So more grease to your elbow. Thank you so much also for coming on air this morning.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, we've been discussing with George Uvietaire. I hear I got the name right.
Yeah,
He's the Communications Officer, Gender Strategy Advancement International. And we've been discussing amplifying women's voices, engaging women in politics and governance.